Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines, where my guest is District Attorney for East Baton Rouge Parish, Hillar Moore. Hillar's going to talk to us about, frankly, crime in Baton Rouge, the city of Baton Rouge. It was going up at first, now it's coming down, and that's good news. He's going to talk to us about the tax being set December 8th for a mental health facility and how it's needed badly. He's also going to talk to us about the dire straits of the District Attorney's office. They need more resources and manpower. Next Legal Lines with District Attorney Hillar Moore. Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. First of all, I want to thank you for considering our firm for help in handling your legal matter. We know what we're doing. We've been around for a long time. We have over 60 years combined legal experience as lawyers. I've been practicing over 30 years, Sean over 25, and I have paralegals and legal secretaries who've worked for me for over 27 years. We've handled about every kind of case you can handle, and we've been very good at it. The bottom line is, it is our goal to be your protector when necessary, advisor, negotiator, and to successfully conclude the litigation for you in a way that is very favorable. Knowledge is power, and the folks who know what they're doing empower you. They enable you to make the right kind of decisions that best serves you. And that's our number one goal, frankly. Our number one ministry is to serve you. Hello, welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm pleased to have back on the show Hillar Moore. He is the District Attorney for East Baton Rouge Parish in the city of Baton Rouge. Hillar, great to have you back on again.
Here.
We're pondering how long this has been. It's been a while that we've been doing it, but let's dive in. Crime, always is a big issue in the city, in the parish. And it was really interesting because I was looking at the stats. I like the way the Advocate now has, it seems like a running tally all the time. It looked like we have 71 murders as of today, I believe it was. And the good news was, though, is that about July of this year, we were on a pathway to be even above the historical high of last year.
Yes.
And now we're down to like the 2015. What's the reason for the drop in murders?
So it's good news. However, bad news is we still have way too many for a city our size. But if you go back to 2016, you and I talked about this a little bit, we had the lowest year ever.
Right.
But it was also the year of the Alton Sterling shooting. You had the 3
All those
officers killed,
tragedies.
and then the flooding. We had 60 murders total that year. That's the lowest we've had in decades.
And you predicted, because of those kind of
Things
tragedies and the stress caused from it, it was going to make people's tempers worse.
We saw, people were spread out. And just like you do business and lawyers do business, people work and they work together. The same thing happens with people that do drug dealing and kill each other. That's an occupation, so to speak, for them. And they work together, and they were disrupted, just like other businesses were disrupted. And it caused, I think, the great decline in 2016. And then you saw gradually at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, things started to get back to normal.
Not good.
Business for them got to get back to normal.
Right.
And you saw a big increase in 2017, a total number of 103 homicides, the biggest number that we've ever seen.
Right.
And then that number started to continue through the beginning of 2018. And around May and June is when we started to do more things in earnest, a lot of more reaching out to the community, a lot more collaboration between all the different agencies with shots fired meetings and more intelligence and more kind of boots on the ground in particular areas. You saw numbers begin to go down.
So let me ask you a question, because I remember Mayor Broome making a concerted effort to start setting up these meetings and communications between the government, particularly law enforcement, and the population, particularly the folks who are dealing with this, which is primarily kind of North Baton Rouge area. So you think it worked?
I think that the mayor and the chief should be commended for their work that they've done in that regard, along with all of the other data and intelligence, and the guys and girls on the ground, the officers that on the ground that do the work. And look, these guys work throughout this summertime, almost to exhaustion, to where working overtime hours, but it did pay off. In fact, last month, we had 1 homicide last month. When the year before, I think we had 13 or 15. And then the month before, we had 3 when you had 10 or so before. And then this month, it seemed to pick up a little bit. But what we've noticed at the mid-mark of this year, we follow shots fired. not only deaths.
Tell the folks what this stuff is.
So
it's technology, right? It's
whenever a shot is fired, if you're in the shot spotter coverage area, then it tells us with 100% accuracy, a shot was just fired. It was fired in this area, in this direction. And you can then look for shell casings in a really confined area compared to relying on someone to call in a shot.
Which is a huge delay usually.
Big delay, or really it's only 18 to 20% of shots fired are called in by people. So that you're missing 80% of, correct. But our shot spotter coverage is only 6.2 square miles.
I was going to ask that. My
city.
recall of this discussion last time was we only have 1 or 2 or 3 of these pieces.
6 square miles.
Okay.
And they're per square mile. There are 3 microphones in a square mile area. So we track not only that, but we also track non-fatal shootings. We want to know every time a shot is fired,
right,
so that we can know what's going on. But we've been noticing that the shots fired have been decreasing since the middle of the year. And naturally, when shots are fired or fired less, we have less bodies.
This is
being
real-time
injured.
information.
It's real-time stuff that we see, and we look at the data, we process the data. We're able to tell the police, and the police tell themselves, hey, this is where our hot spot is at this day, time, location, person. So let's put your resources here and not here because this is where we need you. Well, and that spot may change over the day or week.
And I remember, Brave kind of seemed like it was the tip of the arrow of this. And as I understand, we've got kind of a continuation of that with a different acronym or something?
With Truce.
Truce, okay.
Correct.
So is it basically the same kind of techniques being used, or is there additional?
So the data collection all is the same. It's the way that we now approach the community through Truce versus Brave. There was a Brave police team and there was a Brave effort of reaching out to kids. The 2 messages were confusing. They got confused, and that hurt the effort in that. So now Truce is simply reaching out to young kids who are at risk to either be killed or to kill and offer them services to take. The other side of Truce is just gathering information. It's the police officers and DAs. We collect information. It has nothing to do with the people that are giving help to these kids that need assistance.
And the information collection is really kind of like proactive policing. Based on the past, you're able to predict the future and kind of put the resources there to hopefully prevent it, or you catch the guys when they're doing it.
Correct. And the idea is, let's not try to arrest your way out of a situation. Try to put just the really bad, dangerous people, and there are very few. Put your resources on them, put them in jail, and not try to arrest 30 when 1 will do the trick. And so the also idea is you see us doing community canvases. We walk the neighborhoods. You've seen Les Miles out there in the last 2 or 3 community canvases. Kids know him. They see him on television. They want to flock around him. He reaches out to them, and they come out of their homes, their neighborhoods, and they meet us, and they meet us in a different light. And then we go back to that neighborhood again and help them with their problems that they have. So it's about community trust, community policing, which the mayor and the chief are doing a very good job. The sheriff has always done a very good job with that. So this is all about trust.
Hillar, do we have programs where you guys go into the public school system and kind of meet and greet and educate?
We do, but it's not to the degree where it should be. That takes personnel, time, which means money. And so, boy, I think...
And you don't have enough of either right now.
If we could do that better and more often than we did, in particular if you just took the high-risk kids in the schools that are haven't been identified, you can make a huge impact. Because we are working with one particular school right now with a very small group of kids who are at risk. And man, when you drill down to these kids and hear the enormous amount of problems that they have, that they're facing, you understand why they are where they are. But when you talk to these kids and you get them alone, if you get them to open up, it's unbelievable how bright most of these young men and women are. I mean,
they're
about math skills, art skills, the talent that they have, but they just feel like they're tampered down. Who cares about me? And that's a long process. It's not an easy process. And we're doing that at one particular school. If we're able to do that on a broader base, well, we could really reach a lot more children.
So let's talk about the needs. First, let's start, we were talking about the shooters. I remember license tag.
License plate readers.
And a lot of the cameras. So tell me about kind of the stuff that you still need, the equipment, and then we'll go into further detail in the next segment.
So we are technology poor here, but we have been on a fundraising effort right now through Baton Rouge Area Foundation, and we have some people who are helping us raise money right now. And we need license plate readers, cameras. We need to staff the real-time crime unit. And there's many other things that we'd like to get to in our next segment.
All right, we'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith with Hillar, the District Attorney, East Baton Rouge Parish, and the City of Baton Rouge. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. First of all, I want to thank you for considering our firm for help in handling your legal matter. We know what we're doing. We've been around for a long time. We have over 60 years combined legal experience as lawyers. I've been practicing over 30 years, Sean over 25, and I have paralegals and legal secretaries who've worked for me for over 27 years. We've handled about every kind of case you can handle, and we've been very good at it. The bottom line is, it is our goal to be your protector when necessary, advisor, negotiator, and to successfully conclude the litigation for you in a way that is very favorable. Knowledge is power, and the folks who know what they're doing empower you. They enable you to make the right kind of decisions that best serves you. And that's our number one goal, frankly. Our number one ministry is to serve you.
Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. Again, very pleased to have back on the show Hillar Moore. He is the District Attorney for East Baton Rouge Parish in the City of Baton Rouge. Hillar, we're talking about murder rate has gone down. That's a great stat. Still, it's too high. Any's too high. And we're now talking about the equipment that you need to keep putting the folks who do the crimes, commit the crimes away, but also prevent the crimes.
Yes.
Proactive policing. So tell us again about the shooter, how many you need,
sure,
and the cost, and then let's talk about the next item of equipment.
So at the beginning of the year, my office, myself and others, came together and we did an 88-page State of Crime Baton Rouge 2018. Very detailed report. In that detailed report, we announced where we were lacking in technology, in things, and not personnel, so to say. And we put in that paper where we need. And so what we need is, we were poor in license plate readers. That is, this machine that reads your license plate as it goes through. So we would like to know who's going through a certain intersection after a shot is being fired,
sure,
or your house is burglarized. Can you tell us who just left your neighborhood? Crime cameras, a camera that can be high enough that we can direct at a certain location once shots are fired or things are going down, that we can search the camera to see which cars are leaving there, any kind of help like that.
And this is all evidence for prosecution later.
Correct. Shot spotter technology we talked about in the last segment. We only have 6 square miles. We would like to have at least 12. That's expensive. A license plate reader is $15,000 to $18,000.
And how many of those you need?
Well, we'd like to have 30 or 40. We have around 20 now because of some fundraising efforts. Crime cameras, we have very few. We'd like to get those. Those are fairly cheap, $5,000 to $8,000. Shot spotter technology is extremely expensive. $65,000 per square mile per year. And so that's a lot of money to have. However, they don't take a day off. They're never sick. They do not go down. They're always in operation.
How do you prioritize those? Which one would you prefer, next one, and such?
Me, the sheriff, and the chief meet because we're doing this private donor fundraising right now. We meet to say where are our needs right now. And fortunately for us, so we have other needs though to get to. One is a NIBIN machine. It's a National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. It's a machine that we take all of the shell casings that are collected from the shot spotters and the shots fired. We put them in a machine, and it shows us the ejection marks on that gun, and that's unique to that particular weapon.
Like you said last time, it's like a fingerprint.
So if we ever find that weapon, we can locate that weapon to all the different shell casings that have been used around. That's a $300,000 machine.
Wow.
That was on our list. Were fortunate enough, ATF gave us our second machine.
Excellent.
What we need to go along with that, however, now is a comparison microscope. That's $60,000 to $80,000. That has an analyst that sits behind the microscope and actually compares the shell casings for when we actually need them. So it's not only a microscope, it's a person that runs that microscope. It's a highly trained person that costs a lot of money. So that's an expensive undertaking. We were fortunate though.
Let me ask you a quick question. I recall in the past there being kind of like a partnership, a collaboration with LSU and maybe other universities. Is that still going on, and can there be kind of a joinder so that you get something that helps both parties and split the cost, so to speak?
We still have that same relationship with LSU and working with that. with Southern. So that data collection and all that we're doing with LSU is still there.
Okay.
And it's really beneficial to us. We have other needs as well but everything's expensive. It's also personnel. It's the real-time crime unit that if we really got that up and operational, that's $1.3 million.
Now explain that to folks. What is the real-time crime unit?
So it's just like sitting in the big command center, and as things are going down, police are getting calls. There's an armed robbery that just happened. There would be a bank of people in rooms and computers and access to data, the real data that's immediate right now. Could look at the license plate reader,
wow,
the crime camera, know who's living in that area, who's been found guilty or just released on armed robbery cases before. Is there any homeowners that have cameras that we have access to the front of their street? What's the intelligence out there in that particular part of the neighborhood? What are the intersections and where's the state cameras that someone can go through? Those kind of things, it would be immediate as opposed to waiting for a detective to come out, waiting for the next day for things to open up. It's right there at your fingertips, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And is that now in process?
We're in the process of building it out at the Baton Rouge Police Headquarters, but it's going to be a piecemeal approach unless we're able to get someone with a lot of money to donate that. But we are dedicated. The chief has made it his priority to do that as well as the sheriff. And that's going to really help us a lot. And all these little pieces we're talking about, they all fit into that real-time crime unit.
So, we haven't talked about manpower, which is a huge deal because I was reading the mayor has allocated $300,000 to the DA's office. And as I understand it, that just helps keep your head above water, if above water.
Yeah, our fund balance has just been deteriorating for years.
I read you need $1 million or somewhere around $1 million more.
Easy. I mean, we are working pretty much paycheck to paycheck as it is. We generate money off of court costs and traffic tickets like public defender does and like the courts do. And we've seen a significant decline in the number of people that come through the system, particularly the number of traffic tickets that have been issued, and that decreases the amount of money that we actually get. We're now down to 3 assistant DAs in every courtroom. We have 8 different courtrooms. And in some cases, public defenders have 4. And we have a lot of obligations that we have to do. We have to investigate, prepare for trial. We have the burden of proof. And it's an enormous burden that these men and women as assistant DAs have. We don't really have the luxury to sit down and do a lot of time to prepare. And it's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt us on a case, and you hope that it's not your case. And we hope that everyone sees our issues. We know the mayor does. And it's a matter of, can you find the money so that we can stay alive and have a healthy DA's office, and that's what we need.
Well, let's remind folks kind of the district attorney's role in this whole legal criminal process. The crime is committed. The police officers or sheriff's deputies go out, they collect the evidence as best they can. You guys may send an investigator out there, and y'all are trying to get the evidence to support, number one, identify who it is, and then secondly, go after them and make them pay for what they've done in a court of law. Yes. Which requires that you guys have the evidence to present to a judge or jury to send them away.
So
you're saying that may not happen.
Absolutely. And so, we do a lot of things. And unfortunately, although the volume is down, at the DA's office, and I'm not just us as ADAs, but also public defenders and judges, we seem to flip hamburgers like a fast food restaurant because the volume is so high. So really none of the parties involved really get the time to take the time to get to know everything that you would have to know about victim and defendant. So maybe we could be making different or better decisions one way or the other if you actually had the time and could devote the time to that. But we just don't. We don't have the personnel, and we need to get there, and hopefully we will, because I think that's the better part of justice for us, is to be able to slow things down and find out, why did a person get into this position in the first place? What's the pathology of it? Mm-hmm. And we're not able to do that at this point.
We're talking about the evidence that you need, and so it's very important that the right people are properly trained, have the right equipment and such to preserve it and follow the rules and regulations. I noticed you put out what's called the Brady List, which I found fascinating, but it's a big deal. I think it's a positive step.
So look, we're obligated, as you as a lawyer, me as a lawyer being a DA, that if I have favorable information, that I should give that to a defendant if it's favorable to that defendant. And that's part of our obligation, the Brady List. It's a longer explanation than just that. So maybe we can talk about that a little later.
Excellent. All right, this is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines. My guest, Hillar Moore, District Attorney for East Baton Rouge Parish in the city. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. First of all, I want to thank you for considering our firm for help in handling your legal matter. We know what we're doing. We've been around for a long time. We have over 60 years combined legal experience as lawyers. I've been practicing over 30 years, Sean over 25, and I have paralegals and legal secretaries who've worked for me for over 27 years. We've handled about every kind of case you can handle, and we've been very good at it. The bottom line is, it is our goal to be your protector when necessary, advisor, negotiator, and to successfully conclude the litigation for you in a way that is very favorable. Knowledge is power, and the folks who know what they're doing empower you. They enable you to make the right kind of decisions that best serves you. And that's our number one goal, frankly. Our number one ministry is to serve you.
Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. Hillar Moore, the District Attorney for East Baton Rouge Parish in the city. Hillar, let's dive back in. So you were talking about kind of the needs that your office has, along with really all law enforcement, and that's to be able to properly prosecute and win a case if you're trying to protect the public via that process. Tell me about kind of the proactive stuff that's going on. I know you've got a couple of centers, the Bridge and some family centers. Tell the folks about those.
We try to apply for every grant that we can apply for. And we were successful in receiving a gun crime intelligence center grant, $638,000 over 3 years, to focus on shots fired and how can we better handle those, and how can we decrease shots that are being fired, and can we develop a rapid response team to shots that are being fired. So working on that with the ATF, the Sheriff's Office, Baton Rouge Police, and our research partner at LSU. So we're doing, that's a really good grant for us to get. Very few cities have that grant.
Excellent.
We also have an opioid grant with the number of heroin overdose deaths that you've seen,
this epidemic,
in which dovetails into mental health issues. We are trying to track and find out who are the dealers and where's the heroin coming from? How's it being tracked around Baton Rouge? What can we learn from the data that's out there? And in that grant, we have all the different local agencies. We have the DEA, the Federal Drug Agency. We have EMS. We have the Coroner's Office looking at deaths and overdoses, and what can we learn and how can we impact the heroin market? We also have our crime strategies unit that we process data. We do so many different community.
That's incredible, all the technology and scientific information.
And we do so much outreach. The other thing that's impacting our office a lot that we haven't spoken of is police body cameras.
Yes.
So right now, the Baton Rouge Police has body camera on all their officers. State troopers here in Baton Rouge have body cameras. The sheriff is coming on board with body cameras.
Right.
So what used to take my assistant DA 30 minutes to read the report of 5 or 6 officers at a scene now takes 8 hours, because now
he's got to watch all the video.
You have to watch all of the video, because as DA, like in the Brady situation, we're obligated to give to the defense counsel anything that may be favorable, and the only way you find
to help
out,
him, to help the defendant.
And so, or things that are favorable for us, would let them know here. So we have. So when you have 8 officers that are around working the scene, and although maybe just be standing there, the body camera's on, we have to view that body camera footage
Good God
to find out. So that is now just taken a regular routine type of case and made it much more difficult to handle, meaning we need more personnel, and we're already lacking personnel. We had to let people off and have the potential of having to lay other people off. We're in a crisis situation, or ready to be in one.
And you know, I was looking at arrest stats and the closing of a case stats, and looks like you guys are still hanging in there, but are you about to fall off the cliff?
I would not. I mean, we have people that are working very hard in our office. We have dedicated employees that are working very hard to move cases. But again, we'd like to spend more time and take your case as seriously as we can. You know, we're seeing more and more people with mental health.
Well, and I was going to bring that up. We're talking about drugs and mental health, and so how are we addressing that with? Well, because the system, the legal criminal system, is not really made to deal with this.
So really, we have criminalized a lot of folks that have mental health, and they may be doing some criminal activity like damage to property, maybe doing things generally in their own family home, in their neighborhood, doing things like that. But these people are ill, and what does a police officer, sheriff's deputy have now at their access? They have to bring them either to Our Lady of the Lake emergency room, which is not optimal unless they're in a crisis situation they need, or bring them to jail, which is surely not optimal. What we don't have, and what we're asking the taxpayers to do, is the Bridge Center tax, which is different than the other
road package.
This is strictly for mental health. It's going to open up a 30-bed facility where a police officer or judge or doctor or family member can 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day, Christmas, you name it, can bring someone to this center, and they would either detox them, if that's the stage they're in, or get them in some type of bed that we can get them stabilized, get them treated, and then from there, follow them on for months to come to make sure they're taking their medicine, they're making their appointments. Is there a way we can divert those folks that are now maybe going to jail?
Right.
Can we divert them and not put them in jail?
Because jail's so expensive. It's much more expensive to house a prisoner.
It's expensive, and they're not able to really, because of the expense, not able to get a lot of the help that they would get at a hospital.
It's not going to fix them.
So it's not going to fix them. They're going to come back again. Some people, we see EMS is responding to this one particular person 63 times a year. Person's not on their meds. Family's really had enough of this person. Family wants to sleep. Family calls the police or EMS. That person goes to jail. Family doesn't want to get them out because they got a night off, and they know their child is not causing trouble. They know he's not going to be hurt. They're worried that the child may die, may be killed, may kill someone else, may do something really bad. They get to sleep and feel that their child is safe, but it's not a good place to be when you have mental health. Those are the people that get left behind. Those are the people that kill themselves at prison or get hurt in prison. So how can we better serve? And I think the Bridge Center is the answer. We don't have anything like that here, and it's for our health of our own community. It can be our children, our family member, and it's going to be eventually, because it hits all of our families.
All socioeconomic groups.
Particularly now with the way drugs are and with the heroin, that opioid, it cuts across every line that there is. So we're asking people to support that bridge tax, and you're going to see, I think you're going to see a big difference, a healthier Baton Rouge and safer Baton Rouge.
And Hillar, as I understand it, again, it's completely separate from the mayor's road package. It's a separate proposal.
Two completely different taxes.
And as I understand it, it's basically a penny and a half. It's a property tax, and it would be a penny and a half paid.
$18 a year
per month.
For a homeowner's, the home is $200,000
And for 10 years, is that?
For 10 years. It would generate $6 million a year, but the overall savings is $54 million over 10 years when you look at the cost of city police, sheriff, DAs, jailers, etc.
So it's a no-brainer in the long run.
We believe it is. The coroners behind it. I mean, this guy, Bo Clark, the numbers he gave me were outrageous. Bo Clark and other doctors last year committed in one way or the other nearly 10,000 people for mental health, drug, alcohol issues. That's a lot.
So realistically, this 30-bed place is not even hardly a Band-Aid.
It's going to see 5,000 people a year.
Holy moly.
That's a lot of people.
So they're not there for long periods of time.
Short period of time, when you get them stabilized, then get them somewhere else that can handle their issue. And that's where we want to be.
Tell the folks about this, the kind of judicial justice reform package and,
so
where we are.
We're still early on in justice reform. And the DAs and I were just kind of cautiously optimistic about it. It looks like now there's savings that we're seeing. And we were just informed 2 weeks ago by the governor and Secretary LeBlanc that it looks like we Baton Rouge, are going to get a family justice center. It's going to treat victims of domestic violence, rape, trafficking. But the other thing is, we have people that we send to prison. They're coming back to Baton Rouge from 92 different locations in the state where they're being housed. We're going to want them to come back to one location in West Baton Rouge where they'll stay the last 2 years of their incarceration, and they will be able to be mentored by older lifers who have been there a long time that can help them gain skills. Let's give them a risk assessment, find out what's their risk, what's their needs, how can we do a better job so that once they get out, they don't return.
That's great. So, because we've had horrible recidivism rates. Yes. Wonderful news.
Yeah.
Hillar, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Pleasure having you back. This is Locke Meredith with Legal Lines. Hillar Moore, our District Attorney for East Baton Rouge Parish in the city. Thanks for being with us.